Okay. I gotta admit, these past few months, I've had a Skyrim fatigue. I played through it on the PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 4 version to get a final trophy which had bugged out on PlayStation 4. I played the PlayStation 5 version through with all the trophies. I played through it on Steam with all the trophies. I gotta admit, for a tiny little bit, I couldn't even properly look at Skyrim without feeling a certain strange way of nausea. But as always, it draws you back in. The power of Third Tower never stops. While strolling around the world, shouting enemies to death, I had an idea. Can you beat Skyrim as a miner? By the way, if you are interested, I stream some parts of these challenges over on Twitch. My username there is RexyWrites as well. And I'd love if you were to drop by sometime as I struggle with challenges in real life in real time. Okay, enough plugging of my social media, let's get back to business. What are the rules for this run? I am allowed to use pickaxes as weapon. I can only wear miner's clothes, and I need to mine a vein from each ore. The ores are corundum, ebony, gold, iron, malachite, moonstone, orichalcum, quicksilver, and regular silver. And from the Dragonborn DLC, Skyrim. I also needed to wear miner's clothing as soon as I could, but I was free to choose fitting shoes, a hat, and gloves if needed. I also allowed myself to reset the Dawnstar chest 3 times to find some good enchantments, as I wanted to put some on my clothes, otherwise it would be my tits out of steel against the world. This is probably one of my stupidest ideas out there, and that means a lot, because I've had many stupid ideas in my entire lifetime. Okay, let's do this. I played as a red guard, because I like playing as one every once in a while, and it seemed like a good choice to me. Since I'm playing as someone who likes everything that has to do with miners, I called myself Sapphire and went on my merry way. In Helgen and Helgen Keep, I was not allowed to kill anyone, and ran my way to the Ambershard mine, where I grabbed my first pickaxe, killed some dudes, and ran back out to Riverwood and Whiterun. I did not make a beeline to the Jarl. Instead, I took the carriage to Windhelm and from there on straight to Solstheim. You can get an ancient Nordic pickaxe in the starting village without even fighting. I did just that and noped straight out of there, because I knew the enemies are too strong for the moment, and I'd have to come back later on for the sweet Star Rim once I had a higher level and or more defense. I also grabbed some miner's clothing there and a pair of gloves along with fancy boots from Helgen Keep. Straight out of an enemy's corpse, still warm and cozy. And on the way there, I also mined my first piece of ore, which was iron. Nice. Back in Skyrim, I told the Jarl of Whiterun what was going on with the dragons, and the end of the world, just an average Tuesday in the world of Skyrim, I guess. And then it was time for the beautiful Bleakfall Sparrow quest. Before I did that, I headed over to Dawnstar to allow myself to get some enchantments. I had 2 rather good pulls, but the third one sucked and I didn't get anything from there. In case you wonder how I pulled something, you find a chest under the ground, take what you want, go to the Kashyyyk trading group, quick save, punch the seller in the face, reload, and the inventory has changed. Just how Todd intended us to play the game. I wasn't going to do a fortify restoration loop, I was just looking for a little help for some terrible weapons. The ancient Nordic pickaxe, as it is a quest item I hadn't returned yet, so I just slapped on a little fire enchantment on the other pickaxe and off we went. Bleakfall Sparrow was no different than any other time. This is the first dungeon you are supposed to do in the game, so the enemies and the layout weren't too hard. But I had another plan, and that was not to level up too much. The enemies scale with you, and at one point they would get more hit points and better armor, while I would be stuck with a weapon with a base damage of 6. Which now did an amazing 8 damage because I picked a perk. To be fair, the fire enchantment did hold up well, but I wasn't planning on taking any chances. So I refused to do any kind of magic, basically only used light armor and one-handed as my skills, and that was it. Okay, time to kill the first dragon who got just done barbecuing some soldiers by the watchtower. I cannot blame him for doing that. I bet the metal in the leather would give the meat a certain crunch. But we are not here to discuss cannibalism. That's for a later date. That's what happens at the third base. The dragon was sent back to where it belonged. Sapphire slopped up its soul. And there we go! We got a new Dragonborn in town. Awesome! The greybeards up in the castle screamed out to come home. It's getting dark soon. and away we went. Up the 7,000 steps where I actually had my first hard encounter, the frost troll. I was not expecting this old friend to throw a curveball at me and nearly kill my girl Sapphire. That was mean, so I killed him instead. So the Greybeards taught me a new word for Fusroda, and that's where a problem comes up. I have to shout at them, and by doing that, I do a tiny bit of damage against them. I personally think that this is not a challenge breaker, as you are supposed to do that, and you cannot opt out of it for story reasons. The same goes for the shout at Parthenax later on, where we have to shout at him with a fire breath and damage him a tiny bit. If the game scripts me to hurt someone in a specific way, I personally think it should be an exception from the challenge. In this case, I wouldn't even be able to continue the game if I hadn't shouted at them. Okay, we got this out of the way. Time to find the Horn of Jürgen Windcaller, which also meant having to meet the Blades. Say, do they suck that royally in every game? Gosh, I finally need to play Oblivion and Morrowind. I got the note, hung out with Delphine, and together we killed the dragon, cause that's what you do when you just met someone only a few hours ago. Then I had to infiltrate the Falmar, and Malborn pissed me off so much. I could have escaped with him, but instead I left his corpse as a parting gift to the goldenrods. After finding Aspern in the Ratway, it was off to Alduin's wall. But before I did that, I started my search all over Skyrim for the ores I mentioned earlier. In the end, I mined Albert Starrim, and the locations are the following. Gold at Kostskega Mine? Don't know how to pronounce that. Silver at Cardwarston, Malachite at Kunis Grove, Corundum and Darkwater Crossing, Auricalsum in Dushnichjar? Don't know. Quicksilver in Dawnstar, Moonstone in Soldion's Sinkhole, and Ebony in the Gloombound Mine. I was waiting with Starrim until the endgame, as getting around Soul's Time without getting my ass kicked at this low level had a higher chance than me getting on it with your mama. Oh well, the Blades and I learned everything we needed from Alduin's wall, and then I never spoke to them again, which was fine by me, because nobody gets to hurt my boy Parthenax. And now I finally got to meet Parthenax, had to shout at him, and he acknowledged me as the real Dovahkiin. Thanks, bestie. After that, I had to find an Elder Scroll, and it was just your usual trip through a dwarven ruin, with Black Reach underneath, along with the easiest puzzle in gaming history. Just Skyrim things. Finally, it was time to fight Alduin for the first time. I was a bit scared, I couldn't deny that, so I grabbed a few more healing items, and for the nerds in here, maybe my current layout could be interesting. I was at level 6, and I had the following items. 2 pickaxes. One is the notched pickaxe, with the 5 shock damage extra, which you can get at the further vault, and the other one was the regular pickaxe, with the plus 10 fire damage enchantment. Gloves for 0 armor, a leather scout helmet for 14 armor, and because it looks cool. Minus clothing with a health enchantment of plus 20. Party boots because I accidentally sold my other ones for 0 armor. And a silver sapphire necklace with no enchantment for 0 armor. And with that, I faced Alduin. You'd stay in the air if I didn't use Dragonrend, so I had to use the shot a few times. But Alduin takes no damage from it, so we are fair game here. I actually struggled a bit during this fight, but a nicely timed level up saved me as I was about to get eaten by the World Eater. So I'm happy with that, thank you very much game. Alduin escaped to Sovngarde, and next it was time for the Peace Council. I approximately fast traveled 20 times to different places in Skyrim to get the Peace Council going. And once again I had to hold back my character and myself from strangling Ulfric with his spine. Instead, we made him pay big money and he got pissed. So I am counting that as a win. Okay, it is now time to catch a dragon inside of a castle, because that's what judges do on a random afternoon. We caught him, he let us ride him, and I have the pure hope of you not ripping the sentence out of context. Anyway, off to Sovngarde it was. At this point, I was confident in my layout and my ability to run away from combat, in case shit goes fuck, which thankfully it never did. As I barely had any kinds of level up, the Draugr were only the basic ones and maybe 1 or 2 restless ones. And the dragons were also the regular type, which went down with a few power attacks and a nice time of left and right swings to stunlock them. And I think that was the best decision I made in the game during this run. But I was not going to fuck around with a dragon priest. So I ran right past him into the portal and off to heaven it was. In heaven, I killed every stone clock I came across, for the sole reason that they do not deserve a happy afterlife. I also kicked Zaun's ass rather quickly, which surprised me. Oh well. The heroes and I shouted through the fog and Alduin appeared. The second Alduin battle is always easier than the first. Cause in the first one, while Pathanax does help you until Alduin is halfway down on health, he does not help you in the second phase of the battle, which sucks royally. But in here, the heroes help you during the whole fight and kick Alduin's ass in various ways, which is fun to watch. But the Dragonborn, our dear Sapphire, is the one who has to land the killing blow. I got transported back into Skyrim after being hailed in praise, and I proved yes, you can beat Skyrim as a miner. But there's actually one last thing, and that is to get Skyrim. I hauled my ass back to Soul's time and ran the way up to the Skyrim reserve. You normally only get the info after you have the people of the Skull Village, but I remember this occasion well enough, so I just ran there. And boy, I had to run, cause some enemies attacked me, and a single hit took down nearly half of my health, holy shit. Well, I mined Skyrim and finished the miner experience in Skyrim. Honestly, having an enchantment on a pickaxe has helped me a ton during this run. And as someone who likes to play the game decked out on armor, I was surprised that an armor rating of 14 was not that bad. The extra few hit points were also nice. But I think the thing that saved me from getting my ass kicked for most of the game was the fact that I had barely leveled up. Staying in level 5 to 7 for basically 90% of the game made my life a lot easier. As by every 10 levels, some enemies get harder variants of them spawning, and I avoided that just fine. Using the pickaxes as a weapon was honestly great fun. And I felt like a fantasy version of Minecraft Steve. So that was great. All in all, this whole run took me 5 hours and 30 minutes. My name's Rexy, and this was my video on beating Skyrim as a miner. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!